Hi everyone and welcome back to Alex Lacasse Makes Food. That is me. Today I want to talk to you about something that's really close to my heart, which is fermenting. I've been doing it in a restaurant and at home for quite some time now, starting from just winging it, not knowing what's going on, to probably thinking I know way too much about it. And I want to show you what I think is the perfect middle ground. Can we delete that one? Let's get right into it and let's make a simple purple sauerkraut. La choucroute. Alright, so here's what I'm gonna need today. A measuring cup, some sea salt, a teaspoon, a Weck Jar, purple cabbage, and a big old container. First thing, we'll take out the outer layer of the purple cabbage. I'm gonna turn it around, cut it into quarters. So right down the core, flip it around, flat side, right down the middle. So now that I have 4 quarters, I'm just gonna take off the core. So now that we have quarters like that, I'll be taking off, separating it in 2 layers. So I have the outers and then the inners. Slam it flat, and then I'm gonna slice as thinly as possible. And now for the core, so you can separate it one more time, flatten it, and then just slice it up. Now that I have a very center core like this, I'm just gonna try and shave it as thinly as possible. So 1 quarter down, 3 to go. So now I have all my purple cabbage sliced up as thinly as I could. I'm gonna grab my container. For every 2 cups that I'm gonna fill up with cabbage, tightly pack 2 cups. So 2 cups go in, and then a teaspoon of salt goes in. This is cabbage and salt and a lot of thyme. I just wanna splurge and use a salt that's not too salty and that's delicious. So Maldon salt is one of those sea salt that's not like crazy salty, but has delicious minerals. And now that I have the cabbage and the salt combined, let's get to massage it. You don't wanna shred it as you massage it, but you definitely wanna go hard. The thinner you slice, the more cut surface there is. And the more cut surface there is, the easier it is to draw the moisture out of the cabbage. See, it's starting. We're not even 1 minute in. The reason why I'm using purple cabbage is because it has a lot higher water content than any other type of cabbage. So if you've never done sauerkraut, purple cabbage is definitely the way to go. You can see if I press it down, and I can feel just enough moisture getting to the palm of my hand. And that is enough for us. Now that my cabbage has been massaged with the salt for about 5 minutes, I'm gonna take my Weck Jar. The reason why this is my favorite jar is because I can fit my whole hand in it. And as I stuff it, it's a lot easier for me to press it down in the jar. It's really affordable, and if you don't have one, definitely get one. So, just get one. As we get started on that, we'll take my clean Weck Jar, and 1 handful at a time in the jar. And every time we put 1 handful, you just want to press it down. So, handful at a time. You want to make sure you get all that in the jar. Before it gets fermenting, you just really want to make sure you clean all the edges so no bits and pieces of cabbage are just sticking around and hanging out on the edge. Now that I have my cabbage packed in here, I just want to make sure it's submerged for the fermentation time. I just use another Weck Jar lid that's slightly smaller than that one. I put it in here, and then I'm just gonna put another jar full of water. That's just gonna weigh it down for the whole time we ferment it. If you don't have any of that, you could just use anything you have on hand, as long as it's not plastic or metal. Should I do a little pro tip? Pro tip. Alright, so what's gonna happen here is lactic acid bacteria, which is everywhere in anything. And this bacteria, as it's digesting the sugar that's in the cabbage, is gonna transform the sugar into lactic acid and CO2. The lactic acid is basically what's tasting sour. And this is another reason why I like the Weck Jar so much, is because it is gonna let out the CO2. If you don't have a Weck Jar, you may have to release it every couple days to make sure it doesn't explode and make sure the CO2 gets out. In terms of fermenting that, I do it pretty much anywhere in my house. Pick a spot, and as long as the temperature is somewhat consistent around that spot, you're gonna be just fine. Here in LA, it's taking me about 10 days to ferment a batch of sauerkraut. This is day 0. This is what we just did today. And if I go ahead and taste it, no surprise here, it just tastes like salty cabbage, because that's what it is. The second one here, this is day 5. The color is starting to change, and if I taste that, this is kind of like the scary part, because it's still gonna taste like salty cabbage with some notes of earthiness. Probably say some notes of fart and feet, which probably would discourage most people to keep going and bring it to stage 3, which is 10 days. And if I taste this one here, it's so beautiful. And what I'm tasting here, I'm not even tasting the salt. I'm just tasting just delicious sourness, crunchy, amazing, just like umami. You're not, this and this is worlds apart. And that's what 10 days will do to your sauerkraut. I would taste it every couple of days, starting at day 5. If you like what you see, please follow me on Instagram at @LaCasMakesFood, where this week I'll be posting 2 ways that I like using the purple sauerkraut at home. And until next week, goodbye.